Okay, welcome back. Today we have a 13-inch K4800. Now we've never featured a 13-inch monitor on the channel, so this will be our first one. And just so you can see here, this it came off the tube here. 13K4806, that's 13-inch K4800. So this came out of a baby Pac-Man. And this is the second monitor of, I think, 6 or so for the same person. And this is just described as not working. Well, of course, when you take the first initial overview and inspection, we notice that the fuse is blown. If we scroll in here or zoom in, the fuse is exploded. And the owner of this, when I first got this and gave it the inspection, I noticed the anode cup was not hooked up to the picture tube. This was complete on the tube and everything, but this was not hooked up. And this has obviously been removed from the monitor and reflowed and reworked in an attempt to try and get it working. It's kind of a futile, effort because A, the fuse is blown, and B, the HOT is shorted, which I'll get to that in a moment. But as part of their troubleshooting process to trying to get this to work, they didn't do a cap kit. They just did basically a reflow. Like, okay, the fuse is blown, it's not working. I don't think they noticed the fuse was blown because they didn't try to replace it, but I think in their attempt to try and figure out what's going on, they did a reflow. When they did the reflow, this is why inspection is crucial. When you're working on these chassis, inspection is crucial. They reflowed. They thought it might have been the little jumper here that I've talked about before, the AC jumper, that they reflowed that. They reflowed the other AC jumper here. They reflowed the AC jumper here. So I think they might have watched my video on the K4900 being dead. But they didn't really reflow much else over there, but they did reflow over here. And if we look, there is a nice little jumper there, a solder bridge that shouldn't be there. And if we get our meter out and we go to continuity mode and we check our leads, now if we go from here to here, there should not be continuity across these 2 points, and there is. So that's problem number one. And we got to solve that. Then there's, of course, another number of solder joint issues, especially on the vertical ICs here, or the vertical transistors, I should say, for your vertical output. But this is concerning because they're grounding basically across here for the vertical output. The AC, this is the direct AC feed, and it's shorting out to this other leg here. So that could be the cause of our fuse being blown. The secondary cause is our HOT. Now, whenever you have the blown fuse on the 4800, 4900, we can go to our diode checker here on our meter. And to check your voltage regulator, there's a very simple way. We'll go through the simple way first. Actually, we'll go to ohms here. You can go to your B plus resistor here, R503, and you should read 200 ohms, give or take. And we get 196. So that tells us right there our voltage regulator is not shorted. If our voltage regulator was shorted, we'd read 0 ohms across here. But we get our proper 200, so we know our voltage regulator is good. But the more complicated way, we go to diode checker on the meter, and we put our negative lead in just the screw head, just like that. And then we touch each leg of our voltage regulator. Now, one leg should read 0.160 or so because we're reading through the B plus resistor. Not that one. There it is, 0.164. So that's reading through the B plus resistor. Now this other leg should be the 0.5 voltage drop like normal. And there you go, 0.562. So yeah, our voltage regulator is good. Now if we go over to our HOT, it's kind of the same deal. You want to put your negative lead in one of the screw heads here, and then you touch each leg. It should be 0.5 voltage drop to the frame, and we get, well, short on that leg and short on that leg. Now, is that because of this? Is that because of this? I don't know. Let's find out. Because 0.22 is an odd reading there. Let's go ahead and just get rid of this solder bridge, like so. There we go. Now, make sure we don't have continuity here anymore. And we do not. We've got About 1K ohm. All right, so now we go back to diode mode and we'll go back to our HOT and see if we're still shorted. And we are not, no longer shorted. So there you go. I thought the HOT was shorted, but that's why you do the inspection. That's why you do the reflow. That's why you give it a good look over, because if I hadn't have noticed that, I'd have changed this out for no reason at all, and it still would have read shorted, and I would have eventually found that. But, you know, that's why inspection is so important prior to working on anything. So we need to cap it. We need to obviously do the better reflow. We need to cap it. I need to go over a few more things, but most importantly here, we need to replace the fuse. So now that we've gotten rid of that short, the HOT checks good, the voltage regulator checks good, let's replace the fuse, and I'll give it a little bit more of a good look over, make sure there's nothing else wrong, and then we'll go ahead and just try it out, because there's no reason to not try it out at that point. Now, what caused this to not work originally and require the reflow? What caused the fuse to blow? I don't know, because the HOT reading shorted was a direct cause of that the bridge. Sorry, it's still early for me. It's what time is it? Oh, it's 9:30. It's still early anyway. So that bridge, I don't know if that bridge was a result of whatever was wrong with this before, or if the bridge caused the fuse to blow, or if someone took this out to do some rework and didn't hook the anode cup back up and caused it to blow that way. I have no idea, but the basic checks here is our power should be good. Our B plus resistor was fine. Voltage regulator, HOT, all that was fine. So I think what we're going to do here is I'm just going to replace the fuse, and we'll replace the fuse, and then we'll try it. Before I do, I just want to look and make sure that I don't see anything else that needs immediately reflowed before we test it and try it. And not really. Nothing else looks like it needs immediate work, but I am going to hit R363 here real quick. And R313. Okay. That all looks fine. Why my fan's not running? There we go. Yeah, I think what we'll do is replace that fuse and just give it a test. And if it works, then I'll do the full reflow and the cap kit, and then we'll test it one last time. And, well, I said nothing else looks bad, but look at these vertical. So these two transistors here are responsible for your vertical output. And if we look at these are looking pretty bad here. That one, that collector and that emitter especially. They're not completely cracked, and I'm sure they'd be fine just for some quick testing, but let me just reflow those. You know, I always kind of contradict myself. I think this looks okay, then next thing you know, you see me doing reflow, but because I have to go through and do all this anyway, might as well just do it now. But a little bit of me, I got a little bit of my my brain hole is concerned that we might have some issues with vertical output, given that they had that bridge, but I hope not. We'll see. Okay, the video input header pins look fine. Those are all okay. So I think we'll change out that fuse and give it a try. Now, these glass fuses here, a lot of people will put in, you know, a fuse holder and whatnot. You don't necessarily have to do that. I'll show you how to install a fuse properly, because these fuses come with the legs, the leads already soldered to them. It's a special kind of fuse, but I'll show you how to do this to where you can replicate that without having to order a different style or type of fuse like this. And it's a different method from what I was showing before using the, originally I was showing how to do it with the fiberglass pin, but there's, I'll try to use the other method where you can use the, where'd you go, solder ball? There you go. You can use a Scotch-Brite pad as well. So let this be a lesson to you when you're doing reflow and rework. Check for solder bridges and make sure you don't splatter the solder around when you're doing that stuff, because that'll come back and bite you for sure. Do 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 do. Okay, let's clear this out. Okay, so we'll set this aside here now. And let's grab a fuse out of my little reserve of 4900 parts here. Where are my fuses? I know I have some. Did I put them in the wrong container? Let's try. I might have put them in the GO7 bucket here. Yeah, here we go. 4 amp fast blow. So I can't use my circuit breaker because these are supposed to be fast blow. My circuit breaker is a slow blow type of breaker, so I'm not even sure if they make fast blow circuit breakers. But I knew I had some fuses on hand. Okay, so the secondary method here is we'll take some Scotch-Brite, because you can't, solder will not stick to this shiny surface on the side, so we have to rough it up. So another procedure is, instead of using the fiberglass pen to scrape away the coating, we can just try and use the Scotch-Brite pad here. And this should accomplish the same goal. Yes. So if we do this here, you can look and see how shiny this one is compared to, well, it's dull. The light affects it. But if you try and solder to this tip here, the shiny side, prior to doing any of this, then you'll just heat this up and it'll fall apart and break on you. So there's really not any way to do this other than scuffing up the end here, and I'll show you the end result. Perfect. All right. So now that we got that done, we can. Oh, I dropped my pad. We'll recover it later. Okay. Now we need to get some solder on the end of here, and you'll see just how well this works. If you try and put solder on these without doing this, it's just not possible. The solder won't even bother to stick on here. And look at that. It's just that easy. Now putting the other side on, that's going to be a little bit more tricky. I think we'll just try and hold it here. Now we'll be careful. You don't want to touch this because it's still like super hot. Like this heats up unbelievably quickly, and it's still warm. Holding it like this, I'm not even touching the metal, and it's still very warm. And you don't want to leave the iron on very long, because then you'll damage your filament, and then your fuse will be open. So you just want to do a quick little see if we can. See, so now that one, I don't have enough. There's still too much of a coating on that one, and it's not letting me put the solder on there. Yep. Nope, gonna have to scrape on that one a little bit more. So now, here it is. I found it. You guys tried to hide it from me, but I found it. Damn, that's still hot. Good Lord. This stays hot for a very long time. I may have to resort back to using the fiberglass pen, but you saw how well this worked on this side. This side I just didn't scrape it properly enough, I guess, but we'll try it again. All right, take 2 on this. Let's see. Yeah, probably have to get the fiberglass pen out for this one. You don't always have to, but I proved the concept by doing it on this side. This was perfect, but this side is being a little bit stubborn here, so we're gonna have to break out the fiberglass pen and just use it because it's just so much easier that way. Oh, my phone's ringing. Hang on one second. Okay, sorry about that. I have returned. All right, so now we've got that scraped off with the fiberglass pen. That should provide us with plenty of the correct surface now. And by correct surface, I mean be able to solder this. So let's see if that helped us at all in our situation. Slightly, but not quite. Now, so I had talked this up about how well this works, and I'm just getting nowhere with this. You see how the solder, well, the solder just comes right off, so it's not sticking at all. Well, we have to scrape a bit harder here, and it's about the only option we've got at our disposal. I'm flummoxed as to why this side went so swimmingly and this side's giving me fits. It shouldn't be like that. But that's how stuff goes. There we go. Look at that. Awesome. Just gotta scrape harder. I'm sure that could be applied to many things. I'm not going to go there. So now I need to get rid of all this fiberglass stuff here. I don't want to get that in my arm because that's never fun. Okay, got that done. So now we are going to be able to grab let's grab a capacitor and use some capacitor legs here. Let's grab this one. Okay, we'll clip that and this. I know you can't see what I'm doing, sorry, but I just clipped off some leads here from a capacitor that we can use to solder onto this fuse. And speaking of which, I need to kind of tin these legs a bit. All right, now we can simply solder this onto here, and I say simply, but it's hard to do this without some mechanical fingers or something, but there we go. Stay there. It gets, like I say, this stays hot for a long time. So you have to kind of hold it on there. Be sure not to touch it with your fingers because it's still pretty darn hot. I just, I need to get some mechanical fingers to be able to hold this stuff on here, because trying to do this kind of haphazardly is, you know, well, very amateurish. And that's why this is the, God, it's hot. Whew. Man, this thing stays hot for so freaking long, these caps. Jeez. It's really amazing. Let's try this again. Because not only do the caps heat up, but the glass heats up too. So, and you want to make sure that your legs here are aligned. You don't want to put one like this and one like that. So you want to just kind of put the other one between your fingers, and then kind of orient that in a way that you can just kind of just tack it in place real quick. There we go. And you got to hold it for about, I don't know, 10 seconds or so, because it's, like I say, these stay hot for a very long time and will keep the heat there. And if you just tack it on and let go immediately, it'll just fall off. So, all right, so there we go. We have created a fuse to replace the original, and all our joints are secure. Darn secure. Yep. All right, now we can put this back in here. Actually, I need to bend this out a little. Bend this out a little. And there you go. Sorry, I forget to zoom out from time to time. But it sits up a bit higher, but doesn't matter. It'll accomplish the task that we want to set before it. And if anything, I've got one aligned too well. So let's try and get this in here correctly. Oh, and it fell out. Don't let anybody ever tell you that things are easy. Okay. Now, we'll make this somewhat equal distant. And there's one. And there's two. Okay. Now that that is tacked in, we'll reinforce it. And there we go, one fuse replaced. A lot more difficult than just snapping it in. I mean, ideally you'd put a fuse holder in, but I don't want to modify the chassis because it's not mine. But there you have it. Fuse has been replaced. And let's go ahead and test it. Since it got hot, we want to make sure it still works. And yep, still good. Okay, well, I think let's go ahead and just try it. I mean, what's the worst that happens? The fuse blows again, we'll just change it again, no big deal. But we verified that everything should be good, unless the flyback is faulty, or unless there's a bad cap or two. It should power on and at least function long enough for us to give it a diagnosis. So let's do that. Let's get the little 13-inch tube and get this back on it and see what it does. Okay, and here it is, a little 13-inch little monitor, which are on the rotisserie here if we have to rotate it. Now, I don't have the correct connector for this one. It's a common one, but not as common as this one, for instance. So I don't have that connector in there. So I just have the jumpers here for power. So let's just see if it works and what happens. If the fuse blows again, we'll have to keep going. Maybe it's just bad caps, but I have to do the caps anyway. So, you know, I don't think it'll be a big deal. I don't think it'll be a big deal at all. So let's go ahead and just turn this on, and we are ready here. So let's see what happens. 1, 2, 3. Came right on. And just as I freaking suspected, gosh darn collapse. What do you know? Well, I called it. Gosh darn it. Well, let's take it back out, and we'll go ahead and just cap it, test those vertical transistors there, those two guys right there, and I'm sure one of them are faulty due to that solder bridge taking that out. So let's find out. All right, so back on the bench here, off the tube, and we're just going to go straight to these vertical ICs, or these vertical transistors, really what they are, they're transistors, straight to the transistors and verify that they read correctly. So how you read these, I don't think I've ever actually showcased a vertical collapse K4800 series chassis on the channel. I possibly have, but I don't recall. So the two transistors that are responsible for vertical deflection are Q303 and Q302. Now the way you test these, you see here that there is a base, collector, and emitter like there are on every transistor. And how you test these is, zoom out a bit, you grab your meter and we go to diode mode. And the red lead goes to the base, which is this pin here. And you go to collector and emitter, should be 0.5 voltage drop to each leg. So we'll test the collector on Q303. Well, that was weird. We got a 0.5 voltage drop momentarily. Now it's 0.16. Emitter, I had a momentary 0.347 now, so it's 0.16 to each one. That's not a correct reading. Okay, 302, red on base to collector. Oh, shorted. Emitter, shorted. But that's shorted to both legs. Yeah. Now is that caused by another bridge? Doesn't appear to be. Is there a diode? There's a D301, is that good? Oh, D301 is bad. Look at that. And that just so happens to be on this leg. So if we look here, D301 is this guy right here. And if we follow this, it goes around here straight to this pad that was shorted to here. I believe it was these two that were shorted together. So these two were shorted together. So basically, they put the 115, the main power AC, the 115 VAC or 110, straight through to D301, and that's not a good thing. So, and of course D301 goes right here to Q302. So I'm betting you that our diode is shorted, and that's going to be a Zener diode. D301. Yeah, that's a Zener diode, that guy right there. So we're going to have to acquire another one of those, but first we'll have to remove it and verify that that is the case. I knew for sure that being shorted, that AC, that 115 AC input being shorted to that pad would definitely damage something. I knew it. But I was hopeful. So, you know, I probably could have gone through and tested this stuff beforehand, but I just wanted to see, being hopeful, I just wanted to see if it would have worked, and of course it doesn't. So, and I'm needlessly reflowing here just out of habit. Okay, well, let's take out one leg of D301 here and just see if that does anything. Okay. Okay, D301 is out of circuit. Let's test our Q302 again. It's definitely bad. So now, is D301 good? Nope. It's bad also. So we got a bad D301 and a bad Q302. So let's pop that Q302 out of there. Yeah, if that diode shorted, it sent that 115 VAC right to Q302. I can't say I've ever seen this before. This is a first for me. Okay, so that should come out of there fairly easily. And I may have to, I don't have a whole lot of K4800 spare chassis laying around, so it might prove difficult. It might prove difficult acquiring a replacement transistor here. But I may have a solution, so there we go. It's out, and it is a C2073. I need to reflow this heat sink that I... Nope, can't reflow it because there's nothing to reflow with. Oh, darn it, I broke the heat sink. Well, that's why it's the amateur channel. Broke the pads for the heatsink. Well, it won't be the end of the world. The transistor will keep it in place once we get a new one. So let's test the transistor out of circuit here. And well, 0.133, that's not good, but we're shorted there, so this is definitely shot. We'll test our pads. And red on base to collector, not shorted, emitter, not shorted. Oh. Well, that's not good. So we still have a short here as well. Our base and emitter are shorted. Why would that be? Is that because D301 is out of circuit? Let's take D301 out completely. The rabbit hole is getting deeper, boys and girls. Or non-binaries. I don't want to assume anyone's gender. Because that would not be politically correct in this day and age. Let's grab that D301 out of there. There we go. There it is. Let's test it out of circuit again. What? There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. So we got a bad D301, a shorted Q302, and for somehow, some way, keep coming up with funky ass hits like every single day. We have our base and emitter still shorted, or yeah, 22 ohms. If we go to ohms here, 40 ohms. I gotta get a better connection here. Come on. 25 ohms. So that's not supposed to be that way. So what else could be causing that. Let's follow the base here. That comes around C312, comes around here. And there's D302. D302 is this guy. What do we get for D302? Shorted. Let's take D302 out of here. So there's a good example of you've got something shorted on the line, on the rail, and you have no idea what it is. Well, just start from the basics. Start at the hole and go through the trace and see what's connected to the trace. In this case, it took us right to D302, and it is shorted as well. So we'll take D302 out of the circuit, like so. And now let's see if we're still reading a short across our base and emitter. Nope. Oh, yep. Is D302 actually shorted? No, it's not. Well, it's not reading properly. It's reading... well, that's not correct. Let's just take it out because something's funky there with that. Let's... Okay. D302, are you good or are you not good? .4. .5. Well, that diode is no good. It's not shorted and it's not open, but it is not doing what it is supposed to be doing. Let's see if we just do this. Yeah, 1.5. Something is not right with that. Yep, it reads the same both ways. So again, your negative lead goes to the side with the stripe, which is right here. We should get a 0.5 voltage drop and we get 1.5. So D30, what is that? D302, D301, Q302. What about D303? That one is shorted also, because we still have our 22 ohm short across our base and emitter. We've had two bad diodes already. Do we have a third? There's 13 ohms across D302 or D303. So D302 pads are still shorted. D301 pads are not, but let's take out one leg of D303. Yeah. And see what that reads. Okay, so now we're on the hunt for D303 as the culprit. So the moral of the story here is don't connect your input AC to your vertical output circuit. That would not be a good thing. Okay, D303 is out. Let's check our base and emitter again. And in my best Alex voice, the short is gone. The short is gone. if you guys watch Northridge Fix, the short is gone. D302 no longer shorted. Base and emitter no longer shorted. D303 1.9. Oh, and it opened up. So, wow. Okay. So let's see, D303, we'll test that sucker out of circuit here. And come on. There you go, 13 ohms. So D303, D302, D301, and Q302 are all bad. You darn rascals. Well, you know, what do you expect when you hook up your input AC to your vertical output section? So let me scrounge around for some replacement parts here, and I'll be right back. Well, and just like that, I have successfully acquired the correct parts from a donor chassis. D301, D302, D303, and Q302 have all been replaced. So now let us verify that they in fact read good now. We will start with Q302. Okay, red lead in diode mode on the base. And collector emitter should be 0.5 voltage drop to each leg. Before we had a 22 ohm short, collector, 0.537 emitter, 0.5, come on, 0.540. Awesome. Okay, now D302, can flip my leads around. Come on. 0.573, D301, I think it was. 0.569, D303, 0.541. Fantastic. Let's test Q303 again. Make sure it reads 0.5 to each leg. Well, 0.1 still. 0.1. So is Q303 bad as well? Huh, we've solved our other issue here, but it looks like I was under the assumption that this was being influenced by the bad Q302, but it looks like Q303 is also bad. Yeah, it's still 0.16 and 16. Well, let's change Q303 as well. Interesting. Well, let me get that changed and we'll see what happens after that. Well, just cutting in here real quick because you can't remove this from here because you can't get the screw out because it's so tight and you can't fit a regular screwdriver in here because of the filter cap, so I just took the whole heat sink out with it. But if we go to the base on this and we go to, I think the middle one is the collector. So if we go to the base to collector, this is Q303, by the way. Yeah, the one that was 0.161 that I just talked about. So base to collector, 2 ohms. Base to emitter, 0.18. So we should have 0.5 and 0.5. Actually, no, I think it's 0.5 to one and open to the other, but this is shorted and this is 0.1. So we have both Q303 and Q302 are bad. So I need to grab the other transistor from the donor chassis and put that in here. So let me do that. I'll come back and have that done, and then we'll see if we can get this tested. Alright, so both of them have now been changed out. We've changed out Q303, Q302, D301, D302, and D303 are the 3 components we tested that were shorted. We now no longer have any shorts on our vertical output circuit. So if we go to, let's zoom in a bit, Let's go back to, okay. We'll test all this over again just to be sure. We've got here D301.5, D302, 0.5, D303, 0.5, now Q302, red on base, 0.5 to collector, 0.5 to emitter, now Q303 after changing that, red on base, 0.5 to emitter, and 0.5 to collector. So, yeah, I think that will do it. It's time to get it hooked back up and see if the situation has improved. I'm just looking to see if there was anything else on that circuit that was shorted, we would still be reading the short, and there's not. So I think that it's fine. I don't see anything else. So only really thing left that would hinder us from full operation would be bad caps, I think. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So let's hook it back up and see if our collapse is gone. All right, so all hooked back up. We got anode, neck, yoke, ground, power, video, and there's no remote. The pots are on the board, so our critical 6 in this case. And let's see if changing out these components here, our 3 diodes and 2 transistors, fixed our collapse. And then if so, we'll cap it, do a little bit more reflow, and see how good it looks after that. I forgot to turn off the light. There we go. All right, so here we go. What's going to happen? 1, 2, 3. Okay, comes on. And ta-da! Okay, so now we need to adjust, turn it back off real quick. So imagine that, it works now. What do you know? So we need to adjust some sync adjustments here, and if I recall correctly, H hold, V hold is the third one. There's no linearity, so let's turn this back on. And we shall adjust our H hold thusly. Well, that's not good. We have more issues, but this could be caps. So let's hit up our vertical hold, which I think it's fine. Yeah, we've got oscillation issues. Look at that. So, well, we're on the right track. Our collapse is now resolved, but now we have oscillation issues, and that very well could be caused by, okay, that's vertical size. This is going to be our black level. Turn that down. And yeah, see, if I adjust H hold slightly, I can get that. And that's our H shift that I'm adjusting right now. And that doesn't seem to shift it over far enough. So we got some kind of craziness going on here. I think this is probably cap related. Let's acknowledge that, and yeah, so something very odd here. So I think what we will do is turn this off. Let's cap it, reflow it, do a little bit more inspection, and see if that issue goes away. It very well could be an issue with the IC right there, because if we zapped 115 through the chassis, it very well could have just simply taken out that IC right there as well. That guy right there. So we may have to end up changing that out, but since we have to cap it anyway, let's cap it, reflow it. If it still has the same issue, we'll change out the IC, because that controls the oscillation, and we'll see if that solves the problem. So here we go. Well, full cap kit is now installed, including the filter cap, which I'm suspicious of this being the cause of the problem. So I've got a brand new filter cap installed along with all the other caps. So we're all hooked back up. Anode, neck, yoke, ground, power, video. Don't need the remote. They're all on the board. So let's turn it on and see if the cap kit has resolved our problem or not. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. Well, the top is solid. You know what? You know what I think? I think that it's the MK board. If I recall correctly, now it's been like, I don't know, 2 months since I was working on chassis. If I recall correctly, just now off the top of my head, if I recall correctly, I think that this board is my test board because of the exact reason that we're seeing. I think this has sync issues on certain types of monitors, and this may be one of them. So let me grab a different board and try a different board. Let's acknowledge this here real quick. Yeah, it doesn't like it. So let's turn this off and let me grab a different board and we'll try that. Okay, MK1 board is out and I have a WrestleFest board here. Let's see if the WrestleFest board makes this a bit more happy. Here we go. Yep, it's happy with that. Well, we're way too bright. I gotta turn this down here. If I could find, there it is. All right. Yeah, much more happy with this one. So let's turn down the brightness all the way. Oh, it is all the way down. Wow. Okay, well, we'll turn this down here to roughly there. Then we'll supplement back with our brightness pot here. Right about there. Well, there you go. I don't think this actually had bad caps. They needed replaced because they were original. I don't think it actually had bad caps. I think that oscillation problem was the board, and I forgot about that till just now. So, okay, nothing wrong there. Needs some colors adjusted, a little bit of degaussing, but no big deal. As far as the width goes, if we do horizontal shift here, which is this pot there, we need to shift this over slightly that way. Now let's grab our width tool. Here we go. And let's see if we can adjust our horizontal size to fill the screen. Now, not every game can fill the screen. I believe this one is a narrower game than most. And let's just start a game here. Start Royal Rumble. Hogan. Okay, now let's see if we can. All right. It's going. It's going. Bada bing. Awesome. There you go. Fantastic. So, a successful K4800 repair. We had, well, I don't want to say it had bad caps. I just realized how far out I had to turn that. Look at that. Wow. I'll put that back down just a little bit so it doesn't fall out. But, okay, yeah, we had caps that were original needed changed out, so we had to replace the caps. But the cause of our problem was a bridge, a solder bridge on the 115 input that zapped out the vertical output section. So we had both transistors were shot and 3 diodes that were shot with the 115. So 5 bad components, a bunch of original caps, some bad solder joints. We got everything reflowed, replaced, all good to go, and it's back to working. Needs some colors adjusted, a little bit of degaussing right there, but otherwise good to go. So first K4800, first 13-inch monitor, a successful repair. So I got, I think, 3 Sanyo 20 EZs after this one. So yeah, this person brought me 6 monitors. One of them was necked, so I couldn't do anything with it. But the K7000 previously is fixed. This one's now fixed, and there's 3 more 20 EZs after this one that I'll do all in a row. in quick succession, hopefully, get those up and going. And then all 6 of these will go back to the owner of these. So I'll get the adjustments done, no big deal. But successful repair. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned for the 320 EZs in quick succession. Hopefully they're all reported as not working, so hopefully there's quick and easy fixes. I don't want to have to go deep down the rabbit hole of 20 EZ madness. So hopefully those are quick fixes. But otherwise, you know, stay tuned. We'll find out. I appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.